What is up, you guys, and welcome back to my channel where faith fuels strength. And in today's video, this is going to be my cancer story part 6, and this is going to be the last episode. So today I'm going to go through what happened in my final hospital stay. But before we get into the video, just want to give a couple of updates. Number one, I'm moving next month, and hopefully I'll have a little bit more of an aesthetically pleasing setup, and not just this gray wall. And then soon after that, I'm going to be getting my household goods and also my camera. So I'll be able to get you guys some more crispy content, which would be nice. And then the last thing is some channel updates. So obviously this is going to be the last episode of my cancer story, and I would love to hear back from you guys on what you want to hear next. So whether it be a deep dive on any of the things I've talked about already, I could do a Q&A to clear up any questions that you guys have about anything we talked about already. Just let me know what you guys think. So now that that's all out of the way, we can get right into the video. So starting with where we left off last time, which was me going to the hospital, or the ER rather, at 3 a.m. with my wife because I was having trouble breathing again. Obviously, I knew what was coming. I had fluid around my lungs again. Not quite sure why yet. So we could have scheduled an appointment, but it was the safer bet to just go to the ER. We went to the Inova ER, and then around 9 a.m., they transferred me to the Fairfax location again. And then now, at this point, I was back in the same spot in the cancer center, the blood cancer floor, where I was before in my previous hospital stay that was much longer. And just kind of awaiting the doctors and what they were going to do with me. Obviously, chest tubes was the plan. So first day, nothing really happened. I just got an IV placed and went to bed. The next day, though, on May 12th, still waiting to get a chest tube placed. I got an echo to see if my heart was okay and doing other tests in the meantime, just to be sure. On May 13th, they tried to do the chest tube bedside on my right side, and it didn't play out too good. So they were injecting the lidocaine, which is what they do to prep you before they stick it in, to try and numb up some of the area so it doesn't hurt as bad. Doesn't really work, by the way. It still hurts very much. But as they were injecting the lidocaine, I noticed that it felt like a lot more than usual, but I could feel it spreading around my rib cage, and it was like a burning sensation, which was strange, and it was a lot more painful than usual, considering it was just a lidocaine. They didn't even start putting the chest tube in. And since I was bedside, I was sitting upright, just like this, and kind of hunched over on the hospital table, just like this. And when they were injecting the lidocaine, I started to get pretty lightheaded, and very quickly my vision started to go to the point where I basically couldn't see. And I was like, hey, I'm not feeling too good. Like, I'm losing my vision. I'm getting really lightheaded. They stopped immediately. They put me on my side, right down on the bed, and they decided, this is a no-go. We're not going to place this on the bedside. And the plan then was to have it placed under the CT scan. So it would be a CT guided chest tube placement, which is a lot easier for them. Usually less painful too, because I think they can see more of what's going on. They're not just going in blind. Luckily, later that day, they were able to get me in, and I didn't have to wait any longer. And it went smoothly. About a liter came out, actually a little over, which wasn't surprising based on the x-rays that I saw. And the rest of that day, I was just relaxing as much as I could, in a lot of pain again. Then on May 14th, the next day, I went in to get the left-sided chest tube placed because there was also fluid on the left side. I could have staggered them, done them one at a time, but I wanted to just get it all out of the way. Even though it was extremely painful to have two in at the same time. At this point, I was dual wielding chest tubes, and probably this was the most constant pain I had been in all these experiences. Definitely not the most acute pain, but just the sheer length of time, I guess, that I was in constant pain, this was probably the worst. And then sleeping was probably the hardest challenge because on the hospital bed, you're laying back. So I had one chest tube on my right side, making this whole right side tender. And then on the left side, that one was actually more in my lat or in my back, if you guys don't know what that is. So I couldn't really lay on my back without pushing on it, and that's just like excruciating. So I kind of had to lay with a bunch of pillows and prop myself up, and yeah, it was a challenge. And definitely that is the most amount of pain medicine I allowed myself. Still didn't help very much, especially if you guys have seen the other episodes, you know that I don't benefit so much from the pain medicine. The nurses tell me I have this ginger gene that I guess gives you a really high tolerance to medicine, especially pain medicine. So didn't help all that much. So yeah, I was just cruising around the hospital, doing my laps again in pain with 2 more chest tubes in. This was 4 and 5. So at this point, I have had 5 chest tubes. God willing, that is going to be the last chest tubes I ever have. But yeah, and then I was just waiting for them to quit draining. They continued to do x-rays and scans to monitor me, make sure that the fluid was staying gone. And it was. So from the 15th to the 17th, not much happened. And on the 17th, I got out. And since then, I have luckily, praise the Lord, I have not been back to the hospital. At least not for an unscheduled appointment. Now, you guys were probably wondering, as was I, why did the fluid come back? And the doctors couldn't really give me a good answer on that. Their main suspicion was the rituximab, which is one of the chemotherapies, which was pretty frustrating because I was already in remission and I was supposed to do 2 more complete cycles. And that was the doctor's recommendation still, even though I had that reaccumulation of fluid around my lungs. So at this point, I started to consider quitting and just stopping treatment altogether. So I prayed a lot about it, meditated on it, talked to my family about it, see what their thoughts were, especially my wife, of course. And we all just kind of had this feeling that I shouldn't keep doing it. There wasn't really a reason anymore. I was cancer-free as far as the scans were concerned. I just didn't have a good feeling about it. And also, I truly felt like God was telling me it's my choice. Either way, I would be good. On the one hand, I could continue chemo, go through all the side effects, and I would end up being okay, or I could just stop altogether and the cancer would continue to die off. And I really just felt like it came down to my own decision at that point. And either way, I'd be good. So with that, I decided to quit. This is not medical advice whatsoever. The medical advice that I did actually receive was to continue chemo, and this was just my own personal choice that I made with everything considered. Obviously, I have a little bit of a unique scenario and situation with all the things that I've been through. So, not telling you guys to quit treatment if you're on it. Please don't do that unless you consult your doctor about that and it makes sense. And at the end of the day, you're going to be your best advocate, and the doctors can only do so much for you. So please just make that decision for yourself. But I don't want to influence anybody to quit treatment and think like you're just going to magically be healthy. Because obviously I was already in remission for several months at that point while still going through chemo. So also I'm a young, healthy adult. Yeah, just to be clear. That is pretty much it. I mean, after that, I was done with chemo. I had a couple more scans to do, which all came back clear. I had another PET scan, came back good. And then I actually did a new blood test, which came back negative as well. They basically take a chunk out of your biopsy and they compare it to your blood. It's a newer test, so it's not foolproof, but it was still a good sign. And I don't have another PET scan currently scheduled, but I'm sure I will get one eventually. As many of you know, I did another powerlifting competition. It's kind of like my comeback meet. You guys can check that out. Hopefully I can Hopefully I can put a link to it here. All right, guys. I have just now decided in this moment that I'm actually going to make a part 7 because I realized I tried to go through my reflections and stuff, but there's just way too many takeaways and way too many lessons I've learned to fit it all. So stay tuned for part 7. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, I love connecting with you guys. Comment down below if you have any other questions and let me know what other series you guys might be interested in. But other than that, just remember, guys, when we are weak, then we are strong. God bless, guys.